This episode of the Weekly D is brought to you by Honeysuckle and The Mood Room, your official sponsors of Sweaty Breakthroughs and Summer Sensuality. If your idea of self-care includes THC-infused seltzers, vintage Latin vinyl, and a room full of people vibing under neon lights, you're in the right place. This season, Honeysuckle is dropping their brand new Nectar Seltzer Cucumber Limeade, crisp, cool, and refreshing enough to make even your inner child chill out and hydrate. Catch it at The Mood Room all summer long. Latin vinyl nights, women entrepreneur socials, Thursday comedy, basically any excuse to drink something delicious and feel something real. And if you want to try it yourself, we've dropped a promo link in the show note for 15% off your first order, because good vibes should come with a little discount. Sip slow, heal loud, and remember Honeysuckle, where healing gets juicy. Before we dive in, let's talk about something we can all agree on. Pleasure is medicine. This episode is fueled by Tabs Sex Chocolates, the little square that makes big things happen. Packed with botanicals and adaptogens, Tabs are designed to boost your mood, melt your stress, and, well, enhance your extracurricular activities. So whether you're reconnecting with a partner, enjoying a solo adventure, or just curious what all the hype is about, consider this your invitation to level up your bedroom wellness. And because we love you, we've got a 15% off code just for Weekly D listeners. Head to tabs.co and use promo code LOVE231690 at checkout to treat yourself to a little more pleasure, a little more connection, and maybe a little more fun, because real self-care is sexy.
It's the Weekly D. Come along for the ride. Welcome to the Weekly D. We going all in. H-Town legends, yeah, we do it for the win. Talking big facts, got jokes on deck. A podcast so fire, man, show some respect. Dropping in, telling stories so bold. Comedians, hustlers, legends and pros. We keep it light, keep it tight, but we wildin' too. If you ain't laughing, something wrong with you.
What's up, D fam? Welcome back to the greatest Houston-based podcast in the world, the Weekly D podcast. I'm your host, Danny G, and today we have a very special guest. She is a holistic nurse coach. She's been on the show once before. She's a good friend of the Weekly D podcast. Please allow me to introduce to y'all Miss Jazmine Reyes.
Hello, everyone. You know, Danny, this was my first podcast with you.
Was it really?
Yeah, and now we're back at it.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, I'm honored to have you on again. I know you're very busy and you're doing a lot of good work in the world. I literally follow your page and try to learn as much as I can.
Love it.
And yeah, I'm a regular on that page. I'm always looking, always watching your stories to see like what I can learn. I can learn more about holistic health. I find your field very interesting, so I'm really excited to have you on.
I appreciate it, and thanks for having me on here.
And then, the craziest thing is you gave us one of the most epic analogies on health, your fishbowl analogy, when I asked you about supplements. And that's literally been one of our most popular clips of all time.
Really?
Yeah.
I love the metaphors and all of that good stuff. It just, I have a couple up my sleeve for this evening.
That one was great, though. I have to admit, it blew my mind when you put it that way, and I started thinking about it after. I was like, that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I absolutely loved it, and our fans loved it. So we appreciate that you gave us a little bite.
Yeah.
But let's get into it. So last time we had you on, we talked a little bit about Raw Holistics and what you do. But like I said before we started recording, I didn't feel like I gave you due justice to really explain what you do. So I want to start off with, what is Raw Holistic?
Yeah, so I'm a nurse coach and consultant, and my practice is Raw Holistic Coaching and Consulting. And RAW stands for Remembering Ancestral Wisdom. And so I believe I touched on it on the first podcast, but basically this really grew from my experience in the ICU. Bedside nursing, conventional medicine, and just really seeing big pharma really involved. And it just didn't make sense to me. It didn't make sense to me why we didn't touch on food and moving our bodies more on mental health. And my grandma, she passed when she was 105, and she was super healthy. And so I'm like, there's something wrong, because the average lifespan here in America is 77 years old. So yeah, that's basically how I started in a nutshell. But what I do is I bridge the gap between patients and the doctor.
Okay.
because the doctors, they just don't have time to educate the patients or really sit there with them and dig into their history and their symptoms. I mean, really, they have 10 to 15 minutes per patient.
Mm-hmm.
And so I help with that. So what I like to say is I teach you how to be your own health coach. So
Okay.
I equip you and empower you with education, with tools, with resources, because that way you can share with your friends and family.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I'm basically a health coach, but I'm practicing as a registered nurse. I take my 7 years of ICU experience with me. I'm continuing to take certifications, programs. If you have any questions or you want me to elaborate.
For sure. I guess my biggest question is like, what sparked food as like where you started thinking about why nobody talks about food? Like, what in that kind of clicked there?
Yeah, I think because in nursing school, we didn't really talk about food. I don't remember talking about food, and I
Mm-hmm.
would ask my friends who were doctors like, "Hey, how much did y'all talk about food?" It was very, very, very minimal. Meanwhile, we had a whole class on pharmaceuticals. It just doesn't make sense. Doesn't make
Mm-hmm.
sense. And then you look at the food that the hospital serves,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not great food either. Um, yeah, food is medicine, and so it is one of the main reasons why we're all so sick. Is just the processed foods, the fast foods, the convenience, all of that.
It just builds up so quick.
Yeah,
Like you
it
don't
does.
even realize it on a normal day to day, especially if you're on the grind or always on the
Mm-hmm.
hustle. Like, and you never realize it.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. So, with that being said, how do you feel about RFK Jr.'s like plan to push new legislation to to really push industry manufacturers of processed foods to start labeling their foods and start removing food dyes? If I'm correct, I believe it was yesterday he passed legislation that anything that's processed food had to have a label that says not recommended for human consumption.
Ooh, I missed that one part. I know that was passed, but I think it's amazing. I think it's
Hmm.
amazing. I think we need transparency in our foods. And it's not like, I mean, in other countries like Europe, this is normal. Like, they don't
Hmm.
have these dyes and these artificial flavors and things like that. So, yeah, I think it's definitely needed so that we are able to make better choices.
Yeah, I agree because I mean, in Mexico they've had that for a while, right? They've had labeling. They passed laws where you can't market to kids if it's junk food, and then if you grab a bag of chips, it says full fat or high in fat and high in sugar. So I thought it was really cool that RFK actually pushed for that and it got it passed.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how he continues because there's an epidemic going around. I mean, we are the most unhealthiest country and we spend the most on healthcare. Like, make it make sense. Like, it
Yeah,
doesn't.
that's all American greed,
Yeah,
industrial greed.
yeah.
That's really cool. So, what does a day to day look like for you as a nurse
Mm,
coach?
it's really fun. Every day is different. Every day is different, but I would say on an average day, I wake up, I have like my slow morning, my breakfast, I work out, I go lift, and then shower, get ready for the day. So I'm like going into the office, like 10, and
Hmm.
then maybe I'll have a couple client sessions, doing some marketing things, having meetings, networking. So, yeah, it's that's kind of an average day.
Hmm.
And I'm here in my office. So if you're watching this is my office. That big whiteboard back there, I use it often because what I like to do is like when I am, signing on with a client, that meme with the blonde lady and the chalkboard, and it's like all these equations, and
Hmm.
she's like looking around like, what? That's me here. And so I put my clients' information, their labs, their symptoms, diagnoses, all of that. And I'm just like
Hmm.
putting everything together. And I'm just like, and I have this big bind. I have books and binders, and I'm just like a crazy woman, and I have all this stuff, and it's so fun. I
Yeah.
love it. It's so fun because we're trying to get to the root of the problem. And it
Huh.
takes time. It takes a lot of time, but that's what it is, you know?
So it's like you're putting together a big puzzle
Mm-hmm.
to
Yeah.
figure out your client's needs. That's
Yeah.
really cool. I've always loved the medical field. I don't know why I never pursued it. It's always been an interest of mine. And even as a kid, like I was obsessed with like the human body. When I was really young, I learned like all the bones in the hands and stuff like that. Because my
Nice.
mom was a CNA,
Yeah.
and my dad in Mexico studying to be a biomedical engineer, but never finished. So like they would always show me stuff as a kid, and I was like, "Ooh, that's so cool! Like, what's this? What's that? What's a phalange?"
I love it.
So I've always loved it, and I love that your approach is so different than traditional medicine because you're really trying to figure out what's going on with this person and why.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned that because even in the holistic space, my approach is still very different
Mm-hmm.
because you'll often find holistic practitioners that will, you go to them and sure, it's holistic, right? But you'll leave with like $1,000 worth of supplements.
Oh.
And it's like, it's same thing as the big
Mm-hmm.
pharma, right? You're it's a band-aid. And so I'm very, very transparent with clients of I will recommend supplements if necessary, but we got to start with food. We got to
Mm-hmm.
start with your sleep, stress management, moving your body. And even that, it goes into even more rabbit holes because it's like, okay, with food, obviously organic and local and grass-fed is best, but not everyone can afford that. And so I always say, don't worry about the labels right now. Just eat real food. Just
Mm-hmm.
eat food your ancestors would recognize. So if they're coming from a place of processed foods and fast foods, let's just start with real food. Doesn't have to be organic. Like, let's just start with potatoes, with steak, with chicken, with like turkey. And so what I offer is I like to have sessions in the grocery store
Mm-hmm.
because I was that one person where I was like intimidated by produce. I mean, it sounds so weird saying that now, but I was like, I don't know what to do here. So I like to be with them like, hey, like let's do this together so that they feel comfortable
Mm-hmm.
and like reading ingredients and labels and things like that.
Quick question on labels. Like, what are some of, I guess, key ingredients that you would say you want to stay away from?
Yeah. I mean, you know about the seed oils,
Mm-hmm.
first of all, like the sunflower oil, just all of the vegetable oils. And so that's why you see like in Whole Foods, you'll start seeing even like the chips are made with avocado oil or made with
Mm-hmm.
coconut oil because people are starting to realize that it's really not great for us. The gums, if you see even natural flavors,
Mm-hmm.
companies will greenwash. It's a term, greenwash, where they'll say it's organic or natural, but it's really not. So those are like a couple things. However, I will say I educate my clients, but I also add it with, but it's okay if you have something here
Mm-hmm.
and there, right? So my example is Oreos. I love Oreos, okay?
Uh,
I love Oreos. I love dunking them in milk. Okay, if you go to Whole Foods, there's a better Oreos.
uh-huh.
It's like organic, healthier version of Oreos. It's called Newman's, and
Okay.
it's in a pink like container.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the ingredients is sunflower oil. But because it has that, I'm not gonna like, okay, I can't have this. Like, no, it's
Mm-hmm.
better than the regular Oreos, so it's much better. Sure, maybe it has sunflower oil, but it's okay if I'm like eating it every now and then.
Yeah,
I'm
especially if
not
you're
gonna
not
limit
like,
myself.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's my approach. I don't like to fear monger. I don't, because what happens is you're gonna feel like a prisoner in your own mind. Like, okay, I can't eat this. I can't do this.
Mm-hmm.
No, we also want to like live a good,
Yeah,
fun.
I remember last time you were on here, you said it's a good way to practice like 80-20.
Yeah.
80% of the time, try to be strict, and then 20% of the time, allow yourself to have a little snack here or there.
Yeah.
And I've been trying that. So since last time we were on here, I gained a lot of weight because I switched jobs and started a really sedentary lifestyle where I'm at my desk all day for the most part. So I've been trying to, lose weight. And then my wife as well, we're trying to get healthy because we want to eventually be able to conceive and have a healthy baby.
Yeah.
So we've really been focusing on what we're eating, how we're eating. And, that's one thing I always tell her is like, my biggest focus is to be able to make really good food that we're going to enjoy and that is healthy rather than be strict on a diet and then just hate everything. And then by the time we're done with it, we're just going to go right back to bad habits because we didn't figure out an alternate of good, healthy food.
Yeah, I will add to that too is walking.
Mm-hmm.
Now hear me out because like my friend just posted this today. And so she lost 20 pounds just by walking.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't even change her diet. Okay. Just by walking, she lost 20. And walking is sitting is a new smoking, they say. Like sitting down is a new smoking. And so walking is so underrated. So I would say really starting there of just walking, being consistent. And another thing, sometimes it's not about discipline. Sometimes it's about like finding your people, your community. So just now, like I just got back from a walk with SGS, with the SGS girls, and I'm not gonna lie, Danny, I did not want to go. I was like, I'm tired. But I showed up because they hold me accountable. And it ended up being the best decision. I felt really good. We did 2.46 miles.
Oh, wow.
We're out in nature, the birds, and it was just amazing. So I would say joining a group, creating accountability, that's like my biggest advice to anyone listening to this. Move your body. Just move your body.
Yeah. No, that's what we've been trying to do. We go on daily walks. We have a park like right down the street from us. So we go over there and we try to walk at least a mile and a half. And like I said, we kind of shifted to a keto diet. And we've really been practicing that 80-20. 80% of the time we got to eat clean. But again, I'm also trying to make sure that the food is tasty and like we like it. That way we can keep the lifestyle going rather than just doing it for 2-3 months and then falling right back into the same steps. Because I'm a big believer of, you got to break a habit, create a good habit, and then you can keep the weight off and keep going down. Ever since we started, I think we started 2 months ago, we're both down about 15 pounds. So it's working.
That's amazing. Awesome.
Yeah. We don't have a big community, but we're holding each other accountable, so that's helping.
And honestly, sometimes that's all you need is your partner, right? That you're on the same page. So that's beautiful. I'm rooting for y'all.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been good. It feels good to move. I missed it. I was a mechanic from like since high school till probably 4 years ago, so I was always moving, and then just stopping that it really, really messed me up.
Yeah, we're meant to move all the time. We're always same thing with the ICU. I was always moving. Like actually, I barely sat down as a nurse, and now it's like flipped like dramatically. So I had to catch myself. Like, whoa, okay, I need to move my body.
Oh, that's good. And do you have like a daily ritual that you do?
What I've started doing is really kind of more on the feminine side of things, but just like dancing and singing. And, whether that's in the shower, my room, like that's kind of my thing now. And, like I tell my clients, like working out doesn't have to be running. It could be dancing. It could be rollerblading. It could be, and then I do lift 2 to 3 times a week and swim occasionally. The chlorine, I just don't like the chlorine.
It's not good for your hair.
Ugh, no, and the skin. But yeah, and the walking, of course. So with SGS, we meet every Wednesday and walk. So
cool. That's really cool. So since you've been in your practice, have you seen any growth in yourself or anything that has changed since you've been practicing nurse coaching?
Oh man, absolutely. So first of all, I have my own nurse coach. And so she's not assisting me with health. She's more of like life coaching, business coaching. And I've grown a lot, but I really owe it to the fact that I have my support. She's my support. Because when you become an entrepreneur, all of these self-limiting beliefs just show up. And this is for every single person. If someone tells you, I never thought that way, they are lying. Because it is like parts of you open up that you didn't know were there. And it's like, can I really do this? Am I good enough? Am I all of this, right? And so her support has really been critical because I'm able to get past those blocks. And every time I do, I expand and I get better and better. And my business starts feeling more like it flows. It's more in alignment because I feel more authentic. I'm more me. I'm not hiding behind like my fears or my,
Your
right?
anxieties.
I'm like, okay, and my coach is like, okay, if I'm anxious or if I'm nervous, she's like, okay, let's sit with that. We're not avoiding it. We're not numbing it. It's like, let's sit with it. Why am I feeling this way? What is this moment teaching me? All of that. So I've grown a lot, and it's really because I invested in a nurse coach. So it's like, just like you would want your therapist to have a therapist, right?
Yeah, for sure. Especially after having to hear everything that goes through my mind.
Yeah. It's just we need to be taken care of too. Coaching is very sacred work because, again, just like my nurse coach, I do the same with my clients. It's not just health. We talk about blood pressure, blood sugar, insulin resistance, losing weight, all of that. But it's the coaching part that is really sacred work, and it's like we just dig deeper of like what's really stopping you.
So do you personalize your coaching to each person?
Yeah, everyone's different. I meet them where they're at.
And have you ever had like a client or something that really presented a challenge that you were just like, wait, I'm not sure on this one? Or
it was more of a learning experience for me as a coach. It had nothing to do with the client, but the client came to me for health related issues, bloating, wanting to lose weight, all these symptoms, right? So I was like, oh, I know what to do. Like elimination diet, let's start with that. Basically, elimination diet is where you remove high inflammatory foods for 3 weeks and then you slowly reintroduce one at a time and you find out which one's triggering specific symptoms, basically in a nutshell. And so we started that, but at the same time, those sessions that were more consulting, more health consulting, quickly turned into coaching because she had some underlying trauma, a lot of emotional and mental struggles. And that's where I learned my lesson to assess my clients a little bit better because she wasn't successful in the diet, but that was because she needed that coaching first. We needed to work through this first, right? So yeah, I'm much more aware now of like,
gotcha.
oh, okay, this is great for her, but I don't think we're there right now. Maybe we'll get there in a couple months or we'll reassess, but we need to focus on other things.
Yeah, and I remember last time we talked, you explained a lot that, the stomach is like the second brain. So I'm sure in that case, stress and trauma, all that really affects the end all be all because you're not processing things well as at the same time, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's tough, and that's why my packages are, I don't offer single sessions. It's 3 months, 6 months, and a year. And even the 3 month, it's not enough, even for health, because there's so much to learn about every system of the body, and then it just goes even deeper and deeper. And so I don't overwhelm my clients. Like I give them what they need to hear. But it takes, I think the statistic is 7 times. Someone needs to hear something 7 times in order for it to like really register. So it's a lot of repetition. It's a lot of like, okay, and then they're like, okay, I'm the same way. So it takes a lot of time. Also, I always tell my clients like healing is not linear. We don't start here and then, oh, we're getting better and better and better. It's kind of a roller coaster. We fall off a little bit, right? And then it's like, it's okay. It's okay. I'm here. Let's continue up. Let's pick it back up. So
Well, I 100% agree with that. Going to therapy, still dealing with addiction issues, like that's definitely a roller coaster of constant up and down, up and down. And you just hope
Yeah.
that your highs are a lot lower, a lot higher than your lows at the end of the day. You know,
Yeah.
and you manage to pick it back up and keep going.
Yeah, and really it's having grace with yourself, being patient, especially when it comes to addiction and alcoholism. It's something that to treat with yeah, it's definitely a journey. It's definitely a
That's for
journey.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is for sure. So, besides professionally, like you as a person, how have you grown in that aspect of holistic healing?
Mhm. Mhm. You mean like for myself and my own
Yeah,
health?
yeah, like yourself. How you've grown as yourself, the person Jasmine. Through your practice.
Yeah. I would say, with lifting, I'm
Hmm.
really falling, and if this doesn't answer your question, please let me know. But like I feel that I'm really falling in love with strength training, with lifting, and it's something that is extremely important for our overall well-being, for insulin resistance, to build muscle. Like it's really obviously important, but for
Hmm.
the longest I was so intimidated and I lacked the confidence. I'm like, well, what if I do this wrong?
Hmm.
And then I'm like, okay, this is really important to me, but I can't do it alone. So I hired a personal trainer, just like some people need to hire me as their health coach, right? And so it's changed my life, and I feel so strong, like just so strong and empowered. And it's something that I'd like to continue pursuing and helping my clients get there as well. So was that kind of
It sort of answered it, and the reason I'm
okay?
asking is because, like I said, I follow your page. I
Mhm.
look at it, watch your stories. I do all that, and I've noticed that you really honed into femininity, and you've really honed into woman empowerment.
Yeah.
So that's where that question is stemming from. Like did that has your journey as a holistic nurse coach really driven that for you?
Yeah, it's because women are so misunderstood.
Hmm.
We're misunderstood, and you see a lot of the research is done mostly on men because for women, we have our cycles, and
Hmm.
so it like fucks up their research.
Hormones,
I'm
yeah.
doing this in quotations if you're not
You know what's
watching,
so
but
funny? I
yeah.
was gonna ask you that because me and my wife were talking. I told my wife I was gonna have you on the podcast,
Mhm.
and she's like, "Oh, you should ask her if she's ever heard about that," because we watched a TikTok
Yeah.
on it together about how research is never done on women and it's always on men because of what you just said, the hormonal
Yeah.
cycle.
Isn't that crazy? And it's like, well, we need help too, guys. Like, so
Yeah.
that's why I'm so passionate about women and their health, is because we're so misunderstood. And I really just want women to understand that your cycle is not an inconvenience. It's not dirty. It's not, it's actually a very beautiful, sacred time of the month. And I know this sounds weird, but I look forward to it. I do. And
Wow.
it's really a time to like go inward and just give yourself permission to slow down. And our intuition on our period is like, it's wild. It's wild. Yeah. Oh yeah. And anyway, so that's kind of where that comes from, is, when you look at the 8 to 5 workplace, that's not for us. Not saying that women cannot do it. I'm not saying that.
Hmm.
But that follows a biological clock of men, because men's testosterone levels are with the sun.
They peak, right?
So, yeah, it's the same thing. Every day, it's the same thing. The sun
Hmm.
comes up and down every day. You're going to count on it. Same with the testosterone level. When you wake up as men, your testosterone level rises. So that gives you that like motivation, like, let's
Hmm.
get to work, we stay consistent kind of thing. And then it slowly dips down for the evening. Whereas women, we follow the moon cycle, which is every 28 days. And so our hormones are like kind of like a roller coaster. It's a little different.
Yeah, is it wrong? So I don't remember like the cycle phases.
Mm-hmm.
But I know when my wife is feeling down, I always tell her she's in her moon phase because you know the moon is dark and it's low energy,
Yeah.
and then what's the other? I don't remember what the names of the cycles, but it's the way I remember it. I was like, you have a moon phase and a sun phase, and I know there's two other phases in there, but those are the
So
two most important
there's
ones.
on her period, she's gonna be on her menstrual phase, right?
Hmm.
And then you have your luteal, your follicular,
That
and your
one.
ovulatory. Yeah.
The luteal
Yeah.
is the one where you tend to be low energy. So I think lunar, and I'm like moon phase.
Yeah, yeah, that week before is kind of when our energy starts to dip down, our hormones dip down. And if you look on TikTok, you'll see like kind of like these funny videos of like, oh, I'm on my luteal. That's why I'm acting a little
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. Like I said, it blew my mind learning that women aren't studied for like medicine and stuff like that, and knowing that you were an ICU nurse during COVID. Like, did that worry you at all? Having that knowledge and knowing that this probably wasn't tested on women, because now we see so many after effects, really, really affecting women's cycles and their ability to, carry a baby.
Yeah. I will say at that time I didn't know that, so that
Hmm.
wasn't kind of on my mind. But at the time, it was such a weird feeling working COVID because all of us nurses, doctors, respiratory therapists, we would just walk in like, okay, what now? Like, what now? Because the rules were always changing, the protocols were always changing. So for us, I think we were more like in this fight or flight, but also freeze, like kind of like numb, like
Hmm.
and scared. So I don't think we were so much focused about that. Well, at least for myself, I was
Hmm.
just more of like,
How
because
did I get through the day?
yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. But I really think that I tell my clients, ask questions, question your doctor. And it's not in a way of like challenge your doctor. And no, 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 no. It's like ask questions. Say, hey, I've been on this medication for 2 years now. When are we going to wean off? What's the plan?
Hmm.
Right. And so ask questions, and it's okay to get different opinions and consults because at the end of the day, your health is your responsibility.
Hmm.
And so although they may have the badge and the credentials, you know your body more than anyone.
Hmm.
And that's why in the hospital when my patients or patient's family would say something's not right or he's just not feeling anything, I immediately go to the doctor. I'm like, hey, there's something off.
Hmm.
Oh, but the vitals are fine. I don't care. Like they know their family member more than we do. So I
Yeah.
always listen to them. I always listen to them, and it's never where it's always worked out in our favor.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's what I would say with anything, with any
Gotcha.
treatment plan, medication, anything.
Yeah. One thing I've learned is how poorly they handle thyroid issues. They just want to medicate you, give you progesterone or something to mask it. But I mean, the more my wife and I research it, is like, oh, they're killing your thyroid with this medication.
Yeah, and another thing is most of the time they just order like the TSH or you need the full panel. You need the
Hmm.
T4, the T3, the TSH, the TPO, like the antigen, all of that. And so on top of that is additional labs that need to be done because sometimes hypothyroidism can be caused by a deficiency of selenium or
Hmm.
iodine or vitamin D. Like we have to look at all of these labs. And so, yeah, that's currently one of my clients are trying to find the root cause of her Hashimoto's. And
Okay.
so it's a lot. It's not easy, but I'm like, I'm dedicated. I'm like, we're gonna figure this out. And so,
And
yeah,
has Hashimoto's become more common nowadays?
yeah, everything's becoming more common, unfortunately.
I guess that's
Yeah,
true. We're becoming a sicker and sicker
yeah.
country.
You want to know something interesting?
Yes.
So, have you ever heard of social prescribing?
No. What's that?
Okay, all right. I got so excited. I've been nerding out about this for like weeks. Okay, I listened to this podcast maybe like a month ago, and I'll send it to you. and you can add it in the notes if you'd like. But social prescribing is you're prescribing, say you're at the doctor's office and you're prescribing art therapy or body movement or volunteering, and it'll make sense in a minute. Okay, so in the podcast, she talks about, and in the book, I'm in the middle of reading the book, but case study, truck driver, in his case, he sits all day. He's eating fast food, processed foods. He's alone. He has diabetes, high blood pressure, cholesterol, all of that, right? He goes into his doctor's office, and doctor's like, you're going to be on medications the rest of your life, okay? Which is so wrong, by the way.
Yeah.
He moves to a different town, different state, or whatever, and he sees a new doctor. Except this time, this doctor doesn't say, what's the matter with you? Why is your blood pressure so high? How did you get here? He says, what matters to you? Like, what matters to you? What did you enjoy doing as a kid? And the patient was like, oh, I enjoyed riding my bike. I loved riding my bike. Okay, so first it takes the shame out of it. The shame and the judgment is out. And it's more with compassion, like, well, what matters to you? All right, now here's a critical thing. Instead of the doctor saying, oh, okay, well then I recommend you riding your bike twice a week for 30 minutes, which is great. It's not wrong. But can you guess how many patients leave that doctor's office and they don't do it?
A lot.
Right. I think almost all of us. Yeah. Right? So instead, this doctor's like, okay, I am prescribing you a spot in the local bike club that meets every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. So it has accountability, and there's, you need a team for this because, like they're called link workers, LINK, who kind of find you a spot, register you. Like, it's a big deal. And that man ended up losing weight, getting off his medications, finding friends, community. And when I heard that, I was like, I gotta hop on this. So that's what I'm starting.
Okay. So is that what you're doing with She Grows Sovereign? Because I know it's a community you're building, right?
Yeah, it's such a beautiful community, and it's starting to kind of blend into the social prescribing because I do have two of my like core SGS team members. It's Nina and Mel, and Nina, she leads the walks every Wednesday. And so, again, that could be a part of the social prescribing. Hey, I know a women's walk that happens every Wednesday at 7 p.m. And then Mel, she's the artist. So she is a beautiful, like, artist. And so she could do, like, the workshops or, just beautiful things like that because art is therapy. And so with SGS, it's just, we need community. We can't heal in isolation. So that's how this community started, was because I was like hungry for like women to like gather and connect over anything and everything.
Gotcha. And what does SGS entail besides walks and art workshop?
Yeah, so basically, SGS is She Grows Sovereign, and sovereign is a woman. A sovereign woman is someone who is standing in her power, follows her intuition, humble, and really just here to truly empower other women. And I think that's a buzzword that's just been thrown around a lot. And I'm very intentional in our community of like, hey, this is not like this toxic positivity bullshit. Like, this is like real life relationships. And it's okay to have uncomfortable conversations too, right? Like, we don't always have to agree. Like, it's okay to have uncomfortable conversations. They're uncomfortable, but they're not dangerous. This is how we grow as people, as friends. And so we do a little of everything. Again, we're consistent with our walks. We do art workshops. We do book clubs. And these book clubs are, self-help or female like plots, like, heavy plots. We're doing dancing events and pool, and a lot of it's just moving our body and just talking, connecting. We have journaling events, so we have a little of everything. And it's just it's a beautiful time.
Sounds like a great time. And if anyone wanted to kind of learn how to join SGS, how could they do that? How can they be a part of the movement?
So you just show up. man, you're in it. You just show up, and you can follow us on Instagram at SGSFT Bend, BEND, and we'll have our events, the link in the bio, and majority of them are free. Some of them are donation based or low cost just to cover our expenses, but yeah, to any woman that's listening to this or watching this, we're here. Your people are here, and yeah, we like to do a little of everything. So, yeah, you just show up.
Yeah, I hope not just women that are listening, but also men that are listening that wanna, help their partners learn more about being a sovereign woman. Will listen to this and reach out. And
Yeah.
and talking about that, that's one of the big things that I want to talk to you about is how can a man, a husband, a spouse, a partner support their partner in their journeys of holistic healing and just femininity and like tracking menstrual cycles and things like that.
Yeah. Let me start with the menstrual cycle, and then I'll touch on the femininity. For that, so okay, I always start with the menstrual cycle because it's the one that people focus on the most, but it's also for me like the easiest for men to
Mm-hmm.
relate. So, okay, your woman she's bleeding. Like, yeah, it's a little painful, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's okay to have some mild cramps and, things like that. That's normal. It's your uterine lining shedding. Our hormones are at its lowest. So what you can do is make her a nice juicy steak to replenish the iron that is being lost through the blood. So you're
Mm-hmm.
nourishing her, you're feeding her, and she's regaining that strength. It could be a lower back massage. Maybe you turn on her little heating pad, before
Mm-hmm.
bed, picking up the slack a little bit. Maybe picking up the chores a bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, really, those acts of service are really important to us because as women, we tend to have this on switch of like, we always have to do better and be on, and we have to take care of the family and the house. Back in the day, it was very, very, very normal for women who were on their periods. They would like go in huts or
Mm-hmm.
like, and be together on their bleed because it was a time for them to rest.
Hmm. Would they sync because
Yeah.
they were in the same
Mm-hmm.
vicinity?
Yeah. So it's really, we're so disconnected these days. So that's really
Mm-hmm.
what I'm trying to like, let's get back to our natural rhythm and respect it, honor it.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say learn the cycle. I almost want to do like a co-ed like workshop for men and women.
Good.
What do you think, Danny?
I'll
You
go
think
to it. I'll go to
that
it
sounds
for
fun?
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, to make it like, like a short and sweet,
Look,
workshop
a
of the
lot of
cycles.
yeah, a lot of us men are clueless. I've been learning
Yeah.
because, like I said, me and my wife are on a journey of, wanting to be able to have a kid in the next couple of years. So we're trying to get healthy and learn as much as we can. We've started uh natural family planning.
Mm,
So I think it's called the Creighton system. I've been learning about mucus and when the fertile cycle is. I've been learning all sorts of stuff,
yes.
but I'm trying to be as supportive as possible, and I need some tips and tricks,
Yeah,
where I could really help out more and be more
absolutely.
understanding.
And if you guys ever want to hop on a consult call with me, let me know. I got y'all.
For sure.
I can share a lot of good resources. And then what I would also, the last note I would say is men keep us grounded.
Okay.
And think of men like the land, like the ground, like literally like the ground, like the
Mm-hmm.
surface, the earth. And so when they are in their healthy masculine energy, right? Because there could be a toxic masculinity,
Mm-hmm.
but when they're in their healthy masculine energy and they're grounding us, so we are able to, as women, feel stable.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with that, we're able to like dance freely and create, and we feel safe. That's the key word. We feel safe. And so, and then as men who are traditional, like breadwinners, because I am a little more traditional, although, hey, I think it's amazing that women, we can vote and work
Mhm.
and buy homes. Like, that is obviously one of the best things that we've, been able to accomplish. But at the same time, I feel like it's gotten to a point where you see things like women are the future, females future, and it's
Mhm.
like, I get the point, but at the same time, I don't see women as superior to men,
Mhm.
and vice versa. I don't see men are superior. We're both, yeah, maybe in the corporate setting and other things, it's not that way, which
Mhm.
obviously there's room for growth. But when I think of men and women, when I think of a partnership or marriage, relationship, when the male is comfortable in their masculine energy and so is the woman, like, together, man, is a power couple. Like,
Yeah.
beautiful things can happen. Beautiful. And so you think of like the land, right? The men are
Mhm.
grounded, they keep you stable. And again, traditionally, like, maybe they built the home back then.
Yeah.
Maybe now they're
Uh-huh.
more buying it, right? Women, we turn a house into a home because we have that nurturing. We look at the details, the little candles, the flowers, this color scheme, obviously it's much more to that. But I'll pause there because I kind of
Okay.
threw a lot at you, Danny.
No, you're good. You're good. Believe me, I 100% agree. I feel like modern day feminism has kind of lost track of what it truly is, and it's become
Hmm.
more radical than what it really means to be feminist, right? Which is empower the woman. And I feel like naturally we all have our positions in nature, right? As male and
Hmm.
female, we have specific things that we're born to do, right? And so I 100% agree with you that, traditionally the woman does make the house homey, and the man, his job is to make it feel stable, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's one of those things that me and my wife talk about it all the time, about modern day feminism and how it's kind of taking that away from men, which is causing softer men in this
Yes.
generation.
Yes. That's another thing too. Yeah. Thanks for saying that because, you know, and I love that we have women's spaces and circles and gatherings, but I don't see anything for men.
Hmm.
And that's needed. There needs to be men's circles. There needs to be gatherings for you guys because, yeah, no, you're totally right. If we're taking that away from them, it's like, wait, they're the protectors.
Hmm.
They're, you know what I mean? They lead the family. I will say also too is men, like, you guys are more logical, which is fantastic, and then women are more intuitive,
Hmm.
and they're both needed.
Yeah.
They're both needed. And I have a friend who owns a company with her husband, and there was like a recent like business decision where she felt something was off. She's like, I don't know about working with this partner. I don't know. And turns out that that partner didn't have like the best interest in them, And
She
so
sensed
it's
it.
like she knew. And so, but same thing with men. You guys help us out when we're not, when, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
So
Like I said, I can talk about feminism for how long.
yeah.
It's one of those things that just it drives me crazy how it's affecting men in general, and
Mhm.
especially like right now it's Men's Health Month, Mental Health Month,
Mhm.
and there's not much that's done for men's mental health awareness month. You know,
Yeah.
men still have a higher suicide rate, and if you look at it like generationally, it's getting worse
Yeah.
because of these things. Like we're not necessarily like our generation, but the generations after, they're not really being allowed to be men. You know,
Right.
and there's been such an overcorrection with the radical feminism that it's kind of taking us out of our natural, I guess, cycle, so to say.
Yeah, I mean, well, even like with women, it's this, we're in this hyper masculine energy
Hmm.
and this 8 to 5 and hustle and boss babe, and I'm independent. I don't need a man, because I used to say that, which was so cringy now that I think about it. Um, but I needed to grow through that, right?
Hmm.
And so, yeah, it takes the man out of the equation. It's like, wait, we need to go back. We need to go
We
back
need
because
both.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You know what's funny? You say that, and I actually wanted to ask you how SGS, the acronym, has changed throughout your life. Because, I mean, I've known
Yeah.
you since those days, since high school. I know it standard for something completely different.
Oh my gosh, it was so. What did it stand for? My gosh, I'm single girl swag. Yeah, I was hyper masculine then, obviously. Single girl swag. I don't need a man, which really in high school you don't, but
I love that you've kept that acronym around for so long and just really refined it into something that's beautiful and something that
yeah.
you're creating, that you're passionate about. That's the movement, the she grows sovereign.
Hmm.
It's really cool. It's really cool to see, like, to have known you then and then see you
Yeah.
now and see the growth as a person that you've had. It's incredible.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Of course. So we've talked a lot about community, like community
Hmm.
in medicine and community in healing. Have you gone through any retreats or things like that, and what were experiences that you've had?
Yeah, I feel like that's all I do now is go to
Hmm.
retreats, which is very interesting because, 3 years ago, my vacation would be, having margaritas on the beach, kind
Hmm.
of thing, which is it's not a bad thing, but I think at this point in my life, I am just really seeking that space for me to grow as a woman, and those are women retreats.
Hmm.
And also alcohol, my relationship with alcohol has changed drastically. But it's so cool. It's like an adult summer camp. You don't have to think.
Huh.
Food is there. Like, your bedroom, like everything's ready. You just have to just show up. And it's just
Hmm.
amazing because you don't have to think. But there's a lot of like, activities and exercises, just really things that make you like reflect
Hmm.
and come out of your comfort zone. That's what I would like to do in the future, is host my own retreats. um,
Wow.
but they're very very like transformational.
Yeah. Is there one that you've experienced that has stuck out to you?
Yeah, I would say, mm, there's two retreats. One was the one in Maui earlier this year, where um I remember sitting on the beach journaling on this retreat, and I was like bawling because, and this sounds kind of crazy, but I remember looking at the ocean and the sand, and I was like, wait, 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 wait. I actually feel like my body. I feel present.
Hmm.
I'm actually seeing the beauty. And the reason why I say that is because I went to Maui in 2022, and I was not in a great place. I was very anxious. I was dealing with some just traumatic experiences I had. And I don't remember much of my Hawaii trip because of that. Because I was just anxious and just,
Hmm. In a
I
bad
wasn't present.
headspace. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that was kind of like a full circle for me. Like, whoa, I have really grown a lot. I've really evolved. And so I
Hmm.
have a blog on this specific trip that explains a little bit more. If anyone's interested, it's called Love Letter to Maui. It's on my Substack. So that was a very significant retreat for me. And then the other retreat is with my nurse coach that I just went on
Okay.
several weeks ago. And so that one, usually when I leave retreats, I leave really heavy, not in a bad way, but like,
Hmm.
oh my God, I've learned so much. I've got to integrate all of this. This was more of like, I felt very light leaving
Hmm.
because I felt so empowered during that weekend, but not in a way of, I got to do X, Y, and Z. It was more of like, just be you. I know
Gotcha.
that sounds kind of silly, but it's like, you just got to be you. And I felt that. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be me. I'm going to be
Hmm.
me. So even talking to you, Danny, right now about like the feminism and we've gone too
Hmm.
far, like that's going out of my comfort zone in public.
Yeah.
But that's how I feel. No one can
Huh.
take that from me. That's how I feel, and that's my belief.
Hmm.
And so this is me stepping into that version of myself.
Yeah, no, that's great because, I mean, I'm a big believer. Be genuine, be yourself, and you're always going to attract genuine people. I mean, there's always going to be those outliers that haters that just can't stand what you're trying to do. But I do
Yeah.
believe the more genuine you are and the more positive energy you give out, the universe, the world, or God, however you want to see it, it's going to return it to you. So
Yeah.
I'm a big believer. That's one of the things of this podcast is I try not to hold back, and I try to say what I believe in, and I stand by it. Even if I'm
Hmm.
wrong, I'll admit I'm wrong, but I will always stand by what I say on this podcast because that's me at this time. Maybe in the future, my thought process will change or my opinion will change, but for right now, in the present, this is me.
Yeah. And I like that you said that because, it's okay to change your mind.
Yeah, people
You
do it all
know?
the time.
Yeah, that's okay.
It's natural.
That's totally okay. But like whatever you're feeling right now, called to say or feel or that it is what it is. That's just where we're at in life.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I really like that's one of the biggest things for me is be genuine. There's
Hmm.
no need to put a front. There's no because if you put a front, you're gonna have fake people around you all the time.
Yeah.
You do it the other way. It's likewise. Like it's people can always see through a front as well.
Hmm.
Like it may take some time, but they'll eventually see through it, and then everything just falls apart. So I always try
Yeah.
to be genuine myself. And like I said, at this time, like that's what I believe. That's what I'm sticking to, and I'll take the heat.
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, yeah. So what's next for Raw? What
Ooh,
what plans do you have coming forward, or new knowledge, new things you're interested in?
yeah, I would say, I've been really like thinking about that the past couple weeks, and there's a lot of different ideas and passions that are floating around, but I'm not ready to
To put them out
speak
there.
it into
Yeah.
existence yet just because I'm still navigating like, okay, is this my path? Like,
Mm.
or is this, cuz I'm also very multi-passionate. I love to do everything. I'm like, okay, like am I going to start this in a week and so
yeah.
I'm like, I'm just
Yeah.
nurturing
Dial it
that.
back a little bit.
Yeah, but I will say, I just wrapped up my psychedelic research program, and that's something that will always be a passion of mine that I will be pursuing, but I am taking my time with that because the only FDA approved drug here in Texas as of right now is ketamine.
Hmm.
And so I started ketamine therapy myself last month, and
Really?
it's been incredible. Yes, it's been incredible. So I'm like, let me experience it first and then
Hmm.
kind of go from there because I want to be very careful. Psychedelics is a beautiful, wonderful tool, especially in mental health, but it's very sacred work. And I take it very, very seriously. And I want to be just very careful, obviously, with the legality of things, but
Hmm.
also of um making sure that I feel confident to hold
Hmm.
space for someone as they do their journey or integration coaching.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right this moment with the psychedelics.
And do you mind me asking, like, what have you felt since you've tried ketamine?
Yeah, it's interesting because when I first did the ketamine journey, have you seen the movie Interstellar?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
you know the part where like it's towards the end of the movie where he basically just floats
Hmm.
away and he ends up in that like the room like behind the bookcase,
Hmm.
and it's like all these like dimensional like that's where I was. Like I literally
Whoa.
went to the freaking I didn't go to space.
Uh-huh.
I went past space. I went to the universe. I was out there. I was like, "Holy shit." And my mentor who was monitoring me,
Hmm.
I was like, Am I coming back?" And I'm like, "I feel like I'm alone." He's like, "I'm here with you." I'm
Hmm.
like, "Okay." So that was really cool, obviously, but I was like really kind of I was a little disappointed. I'm not going to lie because I went in there expecting me to explore these parts of me that I wanted to touch on, like
Hmm.
when my dad passed and just different things, like some heavy shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was a little disappointed. But here's the thing, Danny. What's really, really, really important when you do this work is you gotta have integration. And what integration means is you talk with someone, it could be a therapist, a coach, and you talk about your experience and what that meant to you. And that's when it hit me. I was like, okay. So the example I'll share is during the journey, I remember feeling the words trust and safety. And
Okay.
I remember feeling, it was like feeling kind of seeing, I was like, oh, this is really, really deep.
Mm-hmm.
So during integration, I said, yeah, those words came up for me. She's like, okay. So, started unpacking more and more. And I said, these words have deep meaning to me right now. Like, I'm 31. They mean something to me. Like, I'm in relationships and friendships where I feel trust, I feel safe. And I said, how can we have those meanings attached to these words like sooner, right? Like sooner. Like, why did I have to find this out in 31? And then I started processing. I was like, oh, okay, well, then in order to feel that, you have to have those lived in experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, I didn't feel that as a kid. I was like, oh, shoot. That's all right. Okay. So that's kind of an example of my journey where I'm like, ooh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very interesting. Yeah, that was one of the things I was curious about too, was like not just feeling it, but how you're integrating it. Because I mean, I've always heard when it comes to psychedelics, you should have someone you trust, someone that can observe and just guide you through it in case things start going a little south. Because I mean, the biggest thing to me is like when it comes to psychedelics, you have to know the dose, because a little bit too much can take you really far the wrong path. And then I've always been told you gotta know the intention that you have when you go to take that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's another thing. What I learned is set and setting. And so set is, basically your intention, like you said. Like what's your intention here? With loose expectations, because what's your mindset, right? Because if you're gonna go into it like, oh my God, I'm gonna have a bad trip. I'm really nervous.
You're gonna have
you're gonna have a bad trip. Yeah. Like you gotta have a positive mindset and trust that the medicine is going to give you what you need. Not what you want, what you need. And then the other part is setting. Setting is your environment, where you are, the people around you. So the best setting is in a comfortable, couch, bed, some dim lighting, you have some water, and also headphones and an eye mask, because that's where the real healing takes place. There are people out there like at John Hopkins that created this special playlist for ketamine.
Really?
And it's very specific, Danny. I'll send it to you. It's very specific. And you put these headphones on in your eye mask and you're somewhere else. That's really where the true healing. So in my studies, they call music the third therapist in the room.
Okay.
Because in the clinical setting, so like I have my couch there. So let's pretend this is the room where we're doing the journey. The client will get on the couch, comfortable, cozy, and then maybe you have a chair here for the therapist.
Okay.
And then the medicine, right? So the therapist is like therapist number 1. The medicine is therapist number 2. And then the headphones, the music, is known as the third therapist in the room. So it is very important. Yeah.
I believe that because, like, I mean, sound and frequency can also trigger your brain to do certain things and, cause healing. At least from what I've read and listened to on podcasts, like sound. That's why sound baths exist. They set your tone, and then we all run on a certain frequency, right? Do I have that right?
Yeah, I remember when on my ketamine journey, because my mentor was like, if there's anything you want to remember, because ketamine specifically, it's almost like a dream, like you'll forget it. So he's like, if there's anything you want to say for me to write down for your integration coach, let me know. And I remember saying, Wi-Fi, we're all on the same Wi-Fi. And it was because like when you kind of wake up from this like American rat race, from this like this shit don't matter, like, you know,
Yeah.
it's about human connection and relationship. It was like we got on the strong Wi-Fi, you know, we're not on this low bar one, like we're on this Wi-Fi. And it's like, how do we get everyone else on this Wi-Fi? Like, how do we get them up here? But
That's so
yeah.
interesting. Yeah, I've never experienced ketamine in my life. I have tried LSD once or twice, which I did that at a rave. That was the craziest experience I've ever had.
Really?
Yeah, with all the lights and everything flashing, it was overstimulating. Oh, yeah, I just lost it. But I also had a really bad trip with psilocybin. The reason being was I was in a very bad headspace when I took it. And the whole time, like you said earlier, like if you're thinking it's gonna go bad, it goes
It's gonna go bad.
Yeah, and I was really depressed, and that's why I say like the dosage is very important because I consumed way too much. I was in a really bad headspace in the middle of the woods with some friends, which terrible idea, and I had a really really bad trip. At the time, I was like I was a drug user. I was full blown alcoholic, and I saw death. Like I always tell people, I saw death in the middle of that field. Like
Really?
yeah, like I fell down. I went to get up, and I literally saw death reach out and grab and like help me back up. And it was one of the scariest things I've ever experienced. But at the same time, it was enlightening enough for me to realize that what I was doing at that time was just not going to lead me to a good path.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was crazy. I mean, I saw death as a woman, right, from a distance, beautiful woman, and then as she got closer, I could see like my skeleton hand reaching out to help me back up. And the trip lasted probably about 30 minutes, but it felt like 5 minutes while I was there.
Yeah.
Like it hit me so hard. It was crazy, and it scared me from ever trying psilocybin again until recently.
Say yeah, dosing matters, the setting. And I pulled up this resource, like if anyone's listening, save this number, but there's this organization called Fireside Project, and you can call or text this number, where if you're having a bad trip, you can call them and they'll support you.
Really?
And they'll be able to de-escalate and support you. The support line is 623-250-7487, and it's called Fireside Project. That's actually where I see my integration coach.
Okay.
Is through there.
Oh, that's so cool. Like I said, psychedelics interest me so much. I'm so curious how they're going to integrate it into modern day medicine, um, especially with legalizing it, because I know psilocybin's legal on the testing phase in some states.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just curious how that's going to work out, because they're testing it with veterans. Is that correct? With PTSD?
Yeah, which is so needed. It's so needed. We've talked a lot about veterans in our research program, and I'm like in the front because like it's like this huge conference room, and like they provide these mats for people that kind of need that assistance, which I do because I can't sit in a chair. Like I gotta lay and stretch, and I'm laying there crying, like just silently bawling my eyes out as the speaker in front of me is talking about how they helped this veteran, and this was with MDMA specifically, and just their stories, and it's real data. Like they do data and statistics. I'm like, oh my god. And Texas just passed, I believe it's a grant for ibogaine, which I'm not too familiar with that psychedelic drug, but I believe it was from veterans that initiated this.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've heard of ibogaine before. I've heard the name. Don't really know much about it, but yeah, I'm so curious. I'm so curious how the world's going to revolve as this becomes integrated, and hopefully it helps a lot of people with mental health issues like PTSD and depression, because those are really serious.
Yeah, our community, like our world, we're suffering, and so psychedelics isn't for everyone. There are some contraindications, like maybe someone who has the history of psychiatric disorders such as schizophrenia, but it is extremely helpful because there are people who have treatment resistant depression, which means like the antidepressants just don't touch them and they're suffering. And this is where psychedelics can be a beautiful tool to get in there, because what it does is, think of it like a snow globe. Think of your mind like a snow globe sitting on a shelf. Snow is on the ground. So that snow is basically all your memories, your thoughts, how you think about yourself, right? Like, okay, I'm not enough, or I don't think I can have a better life, or money doesn't come to me. Just all of that, right? Or even just trauma, right? And so what happens is, when you introduce psychedelics, there's this thing called the default mode network. And so the default mode network is all like those old thoughts and beliefs. And so psychedelics, think of it like the snow globe, where it just gently shakes. It's not disrupting or damaging anything. It just gently shakes. And so what happens is, then the snow starts to move to different areas.
Gotcha.
So your thoughts move, and that narrator that was saying all that negative mindset stuff, like, that starts to get quiet. And then suddenly, this is during your journey, you start to, like, your mind is open, like those barriers are down. And you're able to start seeing new ideas, connections, possibilities, things you couldn't see before.
Gotcha.
And so
Okay.
when the snow settles back down, your patterns don't have to go back to how they were. Like, you get to choose, right? You saw what was possible during that journey. You get to choose. But that's where integration is really important.
Yeah.
Right? That's where it's really important, because you can have the most amazing trip or the worst trip, but if you don't have the integration, it's like, well, why did that happen? And you just forget about it.
Yeah.
Integration's like, okay, well, what came up for you? And then how are we going to implement this? How are we going to integrate this in your life? How are we going to move forward? So,
Perfectly said. So, with your business being about remembering ancestral wisdom, a lot of our ancestors also dabbled with psychedelics for spiritual reasons and other things like that. Do you think that as we move to a more psychedelic friendly society, that it'll kind of tap into what our ancestors used to do?
yeah. So when you say that, I'm thinking specifically about mushrooms, psilocybin, because that is, that's been around forever. Mushrooms have been around forever. And so when you think about, like, the Mayans, it was a very sacred ritual ceremony where you have the shamans leading, and, whereas this is more of the clinical setting, which isn't bad. I think my goal is to have a beautiful blend of both.
Okay.
Of the science and the ancestral wisdom. My fear, which is, it's already happening, is you'll see a lot of these, like, retreat settings or clinical settings that are a little, I don't know, I'm still navigating that, but that's a really great question.
No, that's fair. I mean, the other day I talked to a friend about wanting to try ayahuasca, and like the next day I had 4 retreats, pop up on my Instagram. Ayahuasca retreat with American shaman. I was like,
Yeah, no.
I was like, I'm not doing that.
No.
If I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna go to Peru,
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
middle of the Amazon, find someone that really has done this for generations, and try it with that. But yeah, no, I'm just curious about that, because like our ancestors, not just mushrooms, but like peyote and things like that, were all part of their ceremonies, of their rituals. And I'm just curious if, like, as we move forward towards a more psychedelic friendly environment, like if any of that might tap in our brain to like ancestral things or genetic codes that we have from our ancestors.
Oh, you saying like the journey itself as a personal journey, if we're able to access that? Well, absolutely. Yeah. Like, even myself, I experienced that without psychedelics, and it was through breath work. It's a specific breath work called holotropic breath work, where you're just using your breath and with the music's really loud and it's very intentional. But with that, I was able to experience a psychedelic experience without ingesting anything. And so I saw my ancestors. They were there with me. Yeah. They were there with me, and it was really a beautiful experience. So yeah, absolutely. You can definitely reconnect with them in that way, but not just that. I mean, it could be through your dreams. It could be writing down what your dreams were and just kind of keeping track of that. They're in us. So we don't have to find them. They're inside of us. They're in our DNA.
Yeah.
Oh, they're around us.
Yeah, no, the reason I ask, I guess, is because, like, I've been trying to learn a little bit more about, like, genetic DNA that's passed from our ancestors and how our brain is coded a certain way. And that's why, like, you know, some people have fears of cats, which is related to their ancestors having to fight off, like, tigers and stuff, depending on the region they were. So I'm just curious if, you know, maybe with psychedelics, we'll start tapping into those things and be able to figure out more about ourselves through our ancestors.
Yeah, no, it definitely can, because even it's even some of our trauma is not ours. It's from our parents or grandparents or ancestors, like you said. And so yeah, I think it can have a place in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
That's really cool. What ancestral wisdom do you use every day in your day to day?
Oh yeah, I would say, it's actually really, really simple. And it's probably not like, it's probably like a boring answer, but it's really just whatever whatever I'm navigating, I'm just like, what would my grandma be doing right now? And so I find myself sitting outside feeding these stray cats in my driveway, and I'll be out there for 30 minutes and I have no idea. I had no idea. But I have no phone, no music. I'm just sitting out there watching them eat the food. And I'm just present. And I'm looking at their behaviors. So for me, it's every day I try to do something my grandma would do.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, make a loving meal. Maybe it's reading, like whatever it may be. And it's hard. It's hard because we have, like, our life, like, is so busy, but those moments when I do have them, when I do meet that goal every day, it's just beautiful.
I bet. And do you feel like nature also helps ground us and boost mood?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I forgot the science behind it, but there's something about, like, the charges, like negative and positive charge of the ground, which is why
because we're all
grounding is a
electricity.
thing.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, but it is definitely grounding. So what I do is, in between clients, I'll go outside. I'll go outside, and even if it's a parking lot, and even if it's like 98 degrees, I'll go outside. Like, I gotta just get fresh air. Because it helps me just kind of reset myself, so that, because coaching, it takes a lot of energy, especially
sure it
when
does.
we're unpacking, right? That deep stuff. And so I gotta, like, reset and get myself kind of grounded and get ready for my next client that's in an hour, so that I go in there with my energy, with my, but yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah. I agree. I love nature. One of the most impactful things to me was seeing the Grand Canyon. Like,
It's beautiful.
It was so breathtaking to see it, especially at sunrise. I almost died that day, but it was a good experience.
Did you almost fall?
Yes.
God.
Yes. Chino saved me, thank God. But yeah, I was hanging on the side of the cliff, like, literally.
Man.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're here.
First day on vacation, and I almost died, but I had to get a better look. But yeah, so we're running a little long here. So let's just move into our last segment, and then we'll give you time to share your information on how people can contact you and whatnot, okay?
Okay.
All right. So this is our last segment of the show. It's called This or That, where we ask you rapid fire questions and you answer to the best of your ability as fast as you can, okay?
All right.
All right.
I've never done this before. Oh my gosh.
Okay, it's just this or that.
Okay.
So whatever comes to
right.
mind first, that should be your answer. Okay. Okay. Do you prefer hot girl grounding walk or a sacred rage dance?
Ooh, sacred rage dance.
Rage dance, awesome. Good dance. Always sets a good mood. Okay. What's your favorite agua fresca?
Oh, I would say traditional with like I just want a limonada.
Huh?
Yeah.
Hey, that
Just
there ain't no shame in that.
yeah.
You
Just a
know.
good old limonada.
Well, that's a solid one. Okay. Are you a early bird or a night owl?
Oh gosh. I'm an early bird, but not like 5 a.m. 6:45, 7
Okay.
is good. But
Okay.
I'm not a night owl. No.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. What's worse, getting hit with y el novio or being forced to cheek kiss every grown up at a Mexican party?
What do you mean by el novio? Like people are like,
Like,
"Oh, is this your boyfriend?"
yeah, yeah. Or like when your aunt asks you y el novio when you're single,
Oh, and then what was the second one?
or pretty much having to greet everyone at a Mexican party.
I'm sorry. I don't like that. I don't like saying hi to everybody.
Let's see.
I do. I'll say hi to my tias and my tios and it's
Mm-hmm.
but
A
it's a
lot.
lot, bro. And so I don't care. I Irish goodbye. I'll say bye to like the key people. But like it's a lot,
I
man.
hate those goodbyes where you say goodbye and then you're still not gone 30 minutes later.
That's why I just leave. I don't care. I just leave.
Okay, next one is what's your go-to happy song?
Island in the Sun by Weezer.
Ooh, that's a great one.
Hmm.
Love that song. Okay, this is the final question for you, Jasmine. It's an open-ended question. It's my name is Jasmine from Raw Holistic, and I am.
Well, my name is Jasmine from Raw Holistics, and I am in a beautiful place in my life, surrounded by amazing clients, incredible family members, and a sacred community.
Wow. Perfectly said. That has been Jasmine on the Weekly D podcast. Jasmine, this is the end of the show, so this is where I like to give you a chance to shout out where people can find you, your social medias, and any information on events or anything you're about to do. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and mute myself. I'm gonna let you share your social medias and contact information to the world.
Yes, so my main Instagram is raw period holistics, RAW period HOLISTICS. So that is my coaching and consulting Instagram / personal. And so I really invite you to just message me. If you have any questions, just message me. I love talking to people. Don't be surprised if I send a voice note back. And yeah, I really want to connect with whoever wants to connect. And then my Instagram for the community, which you should join if you're listening, it's SGSFT Bend. And so that's where we post all of our events coming up. It's just great information, like just information and inspirational quotes and pictures and things like that. And then if you look at the bio under Raw Holistics, you'll see my website, which is jazmine-reyes.com. JAZMINE-REYES.com. And then in that link, you'll also find a link to my blog, which is on Substack. And so jazminreyes.substack.com. And I post regularly. It's really fun. So, yeah, that's where you can find me.
Awesome. I'm gonna have to check out that Substack. I didn't know about
Yeah.
that one, but I'll
Yeah.
definitely check it out. Jasmine, I want to say thank you for coming on the show today. It's been a pleasure having you on again, and really getting to know more about your field and what you do. So I just want to say to the listeners, thank you guys for listening. If you like what you heard, give us a thumbs up, 5-star review on Spotify, Apple iTunes, YouTube, anywhere you can stream. This podcast is on there. So make sure you like the Weekly D Pod. Go follow Jasmine at Raw Holistics. Make sure you check out her blog and show her some support. If you're interested in signing up for a group, please reach out to her. She's doing amazing things with her community. And again, this has been the Weekly D podcast. Thank you guys for listening. My name is Danny G. That was Jazmine from Raw Holistic. And remember, if you can't get it diggity, get it weekly. Peace.
Thanks. Bye.
In the quiet of the midnight, I hear a voice inside my bones. Whispers of the women before me, saying you are never alone. Roots deeper than sorrow, blood wiser than time. I am built from the stories that no darkness can hide. Hey, corazón, feel the fire in your veins. I move here, you were born unchained. I am safe.